George Lucas visits the set of Star Wars live-action series The Mandalorian. That is the headline of this week's Force Friday show. And joining me as always is Stephen to discuss all things Star Wars. Stephen, as you can probably tell, still quiet in the world of Star Wars in terms of movie news. So we're discussing George Lucas coming out of solitude, probably on Skywalker Ranch, coming back into the limelight and visiting Jon Favreau on the set of The Mandalorian. It's all very interesting. And he's still wearing his stonewashed jeans, so the world's very happy. Stephen, what are your thoughts on this?
First, John, that Skywalker bottle, what is that? Is that wine? Is it whiskey? I don't know.
It looks like wine to me, yeah. Stephen.
Yep.
Doesn't look like beer.
Nope.
Certainly doesn't look like whiskey, although Conor McGregor's been shaking up the whiskey bottle design, so it could be whiskey.
This perhaps could be on sale at the theme park we were talking about a few weeks ago about them getting a licence to sell alcohol, so could be something to do with that. But yeah, these photos, John, it's not a surprise to see George Lucas being invited onto set, you know, but it's always good to see the man's still got a hand in the access to the production of this live action television series that's going to be coming next year. And some of the photos, I think there's one with Dave Filoni as well, arms round both Lucas and Favreau. And we also get to see that ice cream maker. I think it's from Empire Strikes Back, if I'm not mistaken, I want that. So it looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it looks
just
better
than any
ice cream makers you get these days. It's certainly...
It's not for aesthetic purposes, I just want it to make ice cream, because I love ice cream, but it's nice.
But I mean, it's always good to see him, still being involved. I know he's not getting any creative, input to what's going on now at Star Wars, but it's always good to see the creator, the man that started it all, being invited on set. I'm pretty sure Jon Favreau worships the ground that George Lucas walks on anyway. He certainly is one of the people that inspired him to become a filmmaker as well. And Dave Filoni involved there as well. It's always good to see that man involved, certainly in live action. I think it's long overdue. I think if George Lucas had his way, Dave Filoni would have directed one of the saga films by now, or perhaps Jon Favreau. But it's good to see. I think sometimes that these directors and producers just like to bring someone like George Lucas down, the creator of this universe, this galaxy, just to really have his approval of where they're going. I think he was invited onto the set of The Force Awakens back in 2015. I think he might have been invited onto the Solo stages as well. But it's good to see, John. It's a series I'm very looking much forward to seeing. I can't wait for it. It's just a countdown for this now. There was a poll on Twitter last week. Someone was saying, what is the thing that you're looking forward to the most, Star Wars based, and the options were Episode 9, the reintroduction to those finished episodes of the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian. And I think the majority of people are looking forward to this television series more than they are Episode 9 at this stage. I don't know if that's just a backlash of the Episode 8 carry-on, but I'm looking forward to it. I think this was actually a present from George Lucas, that bottle. I think it was Jon Favreau's 52nd birthday. I think he just turned 52 on Friday there, last week. That is last Friday, not this Friday.
Good for that.
Yeah, so it's good to see.
Yeah, it is. I would love to get my hands on that bottle of whatever the hell it is. As you know, I like a good drink, Stephen, and I would down that, no problem whatsoever. Certainly without having Skywalker on it. My love. Yeah, it could be. It could be blue milk, in which case I would probably not down it. Certainly not. Oh, it'd be a little bit more edible, a little bit more appeasing from a bottle than from the teat of that hideous big gargantuan walrus alien that's lying down the rocks
It's nice.
on Act 2 with its legs opened. Yes, just disturbing. What is into your mind, Ryan Johnson? What is wrong with you, mate? Why should you put that in a film? But we're not talking about that. We're not going down that rabbit hole, Stephen. We're talking about The Mandalorian. We're talking about George Lucas visiting the set. There would have been a time, maybe 10 years ago, where if George visited the set, to give him 5 years ago maybe, if George Lucas visited the set of a production like this, he'd be saying that he's given it his seal of approval. This means it must be good. He's read the script. of course, he's visited the set of just about every Star Wars film since Disney took over, and that has not by any means been a sign that it's a very good film that we're going to be getting. I've liked the majority of the films they've brought out. I even liked the majority of The Last Jedi. It's just certain elements of it were utter shite. He gave that, I think, his seal of approval as well. But listen, it's just great to see him standing next to Jon Favreau. As you did say, it's clear he does hero worship him. Who wouldn't? This is the man that created it all. He brought this galaxy to us. We wouldn't be sitting talking about this just now if it wasn't for him. He's a great storyteller. He's a fantastic artistic and creative genius. Just he's not good with dialogue, and he should have backed off from it. But looking at some of the other folks, it's great to see Dave Filoni in there, as you did say. This is him obviously getting in, directing. He's directing the pilot episode. He is directing the first episode. So he's on set doing his stuff. Ditched the cowboy hat for a dapper looking Penguins hat, it looks like. I'm not a fan of the Penguins. I'm not a fan of, I believe they're ice hockey. I'm not really a fan of ice hockey in general, really. But if I was to pick someone, it'd be the Bruins, not the Penguins. But looking dapper, looking good. But seen some interesting sights on the set. Props, as you did say, he's brought the ice cream maker back. Was that from
Cloud City? Yeah.
Cloud City on Empire Strikes Back?
Yep.
There you go, that's a great little tie-in as well. And also we see that incredible looking gun that the Mandalorian carries around. They're just keeping up that long-standing tradition from Star Wars of almost taking old Civil War, Revolutionary War, World War I, World War II weapons and putting in a whole host of cool additions to them and making them distinct weapons. This looks like it could be a rifle from that era. And just all those little things, it almost steampunk-esque in the design with a fitting in a little scope, and just that. I think the people have actually been delving into this, Stephen, and they came to the conclusion that this the concept of this was taken from that game that was lost to the sands of time, 1-3, I can't remember what it was, 13 or something. It was that great platform game. It never did get made. I never seen the light of day. It was long into production and it got discarded when Disney took over. They've took the concept, I think, for the most part from that. So very cool that they're still recycling elements from old things.
It looks like the gun as well, John, from A New Hope, the one the Sand People
the
used
Tusken Raiders,
you know, with that scope, as you said.
Yeah, it looks very multifaceted as well. It looks like you can use those things. That almost looks like a bayonet on the end, a double fixed bayonet thing. So I cannot wait to see this series hitting the Disney streaming service. The attention to detail on the sets is incredible. The attention to detail on the props is incredible. We know this guy gets Star Wars. He's been a big Star Wars fan all his life, and we know he's capable of crafting some amazing stories, and he's getting the right people on board to direct. The final thing I'll fling into you though, Stephen, is what was your thoughts on that news from last week that Taika Waititi maybe voicing a droid, and Bryce Dallas Howard maybe lending her acting credentials into this as well as directing episodes? What would you have thoughts on maybe a droid coming in? Because I hinted that we may be getting a pansexual thing again for the Mandalorian. Has a relationship with a droid, a male droid.
I think it might just be carrying on this tradition, John. As we know, Jon Favreau voiced one of those creatures in Solo before he took the reins to this live action film.
He also voiced previously as well, Stephen, a Mandalorian from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, that's right, John. And it's that kind of tradition that Star Wars seems to carry, where you saw it as well in, I think it was in Rogue One. Rian Johnson had a cameo, and in return Gareth Edwards appeared in The Last Jedi in that sort of trench on Crate. So I mean, it's one of those things I'm not really bothered about if they're just doing a voice of a droid. It could be just a one-liner for all we know, as we know, Star Wars always litters itself with Easter eggs anyway, so it could just be as minor as that. But we're going to move on to this next piece of news, John. This is in regards to there's rumours going about parallels between Star Wars Episode 9 and Return of the Jedi. Please, God, no. I hope not. I loved Return of the Jedi right up to probably I was about 12 or 13. It was my favourite Star Wars film. I loved it. I just absolutely loved those throne room scenes. I've already had that in The Last Jedi anyway, those throne room scenes, so I hope it's not the case. I know that Screen Rant has sort of dissected it a little bit of what they already know about. There could be a forest planet thrown in there, perhaps a desert world and a new lightsaber coming about, super weapons and a fallen mentor. Kylo Ren's redemption and the end of the Skywalker saga. That's a given anyway. This is going to be the concluding part of the Skywalker saga anyway. This will lead us right into our next topic anyway. But before we move on to that, John, what's your thoughts? People are going to naturally connect this sequel trilogy and its installments with the original trilogy. They did it with the prequel trilogy as well, where Attack of the Clones was seen as the Empire Strikes Back of that. Certainly wasn't. It was probably the worst Star Wars film ever made. Revenge of the Sith was a mirror opposite of Return of the Jedi, and then we saw it again in this trilogy with The Force Awakens being compared to a remake or paying homage, whatever way you want to look at it, to A New Hope. The Last Jedi, from I think the release of the trailer when they were on Crate, a lot of people were assuming, oh, this is Hoth revisited. It turns out that wasn't snow anyway, it was salt.
Yeah.
They had to emphasise that in the script as well, that it was salt for some reason. So what's your thoughts on that, John? Personally, I hope it's going to be a fresh approach, but I can't really see it.
Well, we've spoken about this before, Stephen, haven't we? Where George himself has says that history repeats itself. It's almost poetic in the way it's symmetry. Things repeat themselves again and again. We see limb dismemberment again and again. Sadly, we've not seen it this time. The heroic figure has went through the whole trilogy as of yet unscathed. She's not really had any real test, I would have says, apart from the whole family angle, and Force FaceTiming Kylo. So we're not getting any parallels in terms of that, but what they do say, the Resistance on the run in the Forest Planet, absolutely right. That also does imitate the Return of the Jedi. The Resistance are on the run. There is going to be a Forest Planet. We spoke about that a couple of weeks back, I'm sure. We don't know where this Forest Planet is, whether it's going to be Endor, Yavin 4, or just maybe some new location. I just hope if we do go to a Forest Planet, we aren't getting teddy bear characters. Or cannibalistic teddy bear characters, because that would be terrible. We don't want to see that. That'd be ridiculous. It'd be on the nose. In terms of a desert world also appearing, we know that for a fact because we've seen the set photos and those bizarre looking props standing out in the middle of the desert. We definitely are going to get a new lightsaber as well. Rey's without a shadow of a doubt going to have to craft her own lightsaber or somehow repair Anakin's old one. Don't think that really hints at maybe echoing the Return of the Jedi. That's just a given. She's going to have a lightsaber to fight Kylo. What you would think would be the conclusive battle at the end of the film. So that's just, we go to desert planets all the time. That's just Star Wars. It doesn't matter whether it's a sign of paralleling previous films or not. It's just something that's embroiled in the story. There's got to be a desert planet somewhere, whether it's Tatooine, Jeddah, Jakku. It doesn't really matter either way. The one that stands out to me the most though, and I didn't actually know about this, is the one about Leia and a potential super weapon maybe working its way into the hands of the Resistance. Apparently in her cut scenes from The Force Awakens, I don't know whether it was the same in The Last Jedi, they were using some subplot that get booted, the Warhammer story they call it, where she's been meeting with these, I don't know, this group of people who have their hands on this massive ship. So maybe they're going to use these scenes to also resurrect her, bring her back into the story, and maybe this will see them utilising this Warhammer subplot where we get the Resistance maybe finding a weapon that can turn the tide of the battle. I don't know, that's very intriguing. But again, that wouldn't even remotely be a sign of parallels to the Return of the Jedi. If it was, then it would be the First Order building another big massive Death Star thing and getting it destroyed again. With Lando, who's coming back.
Yeah.
But look, we could talk about this all night, man. There's always going to be, as you did say, comparisons between the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. Just people always want to compare worlds, story arcs, and all sorts. But I would definitely like to see Kylo Ren being redeemed, like Darth Vader does. Whether he's going to live or not, I don't know. But if he dies, maybe saving someone, maybe saving Rey or somebody else, I don't know. That'd be great to see. Also, the last Skywalker, Blood Skywalker, being saved and redeemed and becoming back to the good. That'd be great in terms of storytelling and just thematically. It mirrors previous films. And whether you want to see them going to planets and mirroring the general story mirroring, you need to have a thematical conclusion to the trilogy, and it needs to be similar to the previous ones, mirroring this is a Skywalker saga after all. As you did say, Stephen, if the Skywalker saga is going to end, then as we'll get into shortly with Anakin, you want to see it going out with a bang and it ending in the right way, and him getting redeemed would be the right way for me.
I think Ben Solo, I think that's what we'll call him anyway, John, because if it's going to be his redemption, that's what his name's going to be. I think it's going to have to be self-sacrifice. I think it won't just be for the benefit of Rey. I think it will be for the benefit of
the Resistance,
and his mother. But you're right. I think there's always going to be those comparisons anyway. In regards to any Star Wars film coming out, there's always going to be those comparisons. I think it was a bit unjustly with The Force Awakens, because I understood what J.J. Abrams' task he had in front of him in regards to reintroducing Star Wars as a brand, connecting it with the previous movies, but sort of introducing these new characters and these new worlds at the same time. There's a lot on his plate. It was a very safe film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Out of the two so far we've had from this trilogy, that's certainly my favourite one. I didn't mind The Last Jedi. There was bits of it that annoyed me, of course. But the Force Awakens, I can see why a lot of people were saying it was a bit of a rehash of A New Hope, but I understood the reasons for it. It was a very safe film, as I said. But we'll move on, John, to, you just hinted at it there. This is in regards to an article that's came in on the express.co.uk. This is the Daily Express here in the UK. Very Star Wars obsessed, very much like ourselves. This headline is Star Wars 9 Anakin Skywalker comeback clue, Hayden Christensen returning for the new movie. We knew Hayden Christensen, I think he's let bygones be bygones in regards to the Star Wars fandom. We saw him at Celebration in 2017, I think it was, John, when he shared the stage with Ian McDiarmid. He seemed to enjoy the reception that he received that night. I think he enjoyed reuniting with cast members from his time on the prequel trilogy. He only appeared in the two films, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. I think a lot of people would like to see him return in this final episode, because this is the concluding part of the Skywalker saga, and he is the chosen one after all. He has to be in there in some capacity, whether or not it's going to be one small scene or perhaps having some screen time, perhaps the same as Luke Skywalker may have as well. What's your thoughts on this, John? I personally would like to see Hayden Christensen returning, possibly a small cameo. I don't know whether or not appearing to Luke or appearing to Rey or appearing to Ben Solo. I think it would make sense for him to appear to Ben Solo in some way, to try and redeem him in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that was what I was thinking, Stephen. If he was going to pop up, then it would be maybe two ways. Popping up to Luke, obviously having a moment with his son again after Return of the Jedi. Maybe again, just, I don't know how that would work in the both Force Ghosts. I don't think, he's had a long time to speak to him. I think this time this film's going to be taking place a number of years after the events of The Last Jedi. So if Luke is indeed dead, then he's had plenty of time to speak to his dad, Anakin, in the other real realm, or whatever the hell they reside, the Force Ghosts. So I don't know how that would work. Maybe he could somehow help Luke to impart some more wisdom onto Rey, get her up to a good enough standard to finally see off Kylo one last time. Or maybe, as I says, I think would be the most likely to go and speak to Ben Solo or Kylo Ren, and just maybe try and push him back to the light, because we've seen it throughout the whole films. A lot of people says that at the end of The Last Jedi that Kylo had finally went fully bad with him killing Snoke. That was him embodying full evil, the full dark side, turning completely. That he was unredeemable after that. I mean, he killed Han Solo in the first film, so how can you say he's unredeemable just after killing Snoke? It's not like that's the first bad thing he's ever done. He struck people down time and again. Anakin Skywalker killed younglings, hundreds of Jedi, and he was redeemed, so I'm not buying into that. I think it's pretty clear he's been a very angsty, emotional guy throughout the whole trilogy. He's been teetering on the edge of dark and light, treading a very dangerous line. He's been conflicted, and I'd love to see him being redeemed, as I did say in the previous topic. And if you could get Anakin Skywalker in to maybe help push that along, maybe help him come to his senses, because he clearly hero worships his grandfather, as we've seen in The Force Awakens. I'm talking to the destroyed helmet of Darth Vader. If we could make that happen, then that'd be great. I'd love to see Hayden Christensen come back and star in this role. I said that last week. I'd love to see the Emperor come back in some fashion. There's many links to the prequel we could get in there that makes sense. Just not just force fitting them in to say, look, we're doing this, look at this. Make it organic, interconnect all of the trilogies together and make it all one big overarching story. Then that would make sense to me. Just completely airbrushing the prequels out as if they don't exist is wrong to me. And as I did say in one of the topics last week, Stephen, there's hints that the trailer, John Williams may be scoring a theme just for the trailer, and it's going to utilise a lot of prequel sort of moments to shows that that's them, they're going that way. So I think it's possible we definitely could see Anakin coming back. I don't know where the basis for this rumour's coming from though. I think it's Reddit, so it's a bit of a dodgy one, but I think they need to. Everybody wanted him back in The Last Jedi. It didn't happen. Ryan went down his own route, totally different story, and you can't blame him for that. He get the leeway to do that from Kathleen Kennedy and all the other people at Lucasfilm. It's pretty clear that's what they've been doing. You get your own story, your own open sandbox, you can do what you want. Can't blame Ryan for that. He chose a different route.
No.
JJ can do his own thing here though, and I think he needs to get him in. If it's the end of the Skywalker saga, as you said, right thing to do is to bring him back and have a meaningful impact on the story.
Well, we got Yoda in episode 8 anyway, John, so I think you just be shoehorning them in for the sake of it. I think there's an opportunity for JJ Abrams to do it in 9. Whether or not he will remain to be seen. I think it would be a missed opportunity. I think he is the key to the redemption of Ben Solo. Certainly, in some way, some influence anyway.
Wouldn't it be intriguing though, Stephen, if he maybe had a moment with Kylo or Ben and Leia, having the three of them somehow work together in a scene? Getting to see Anakin discussing or talking to his daughter again, because we never got to see that. We never really got to, apart from when he was interrogating her in A New Hope, we've never really got to see a tender, more introspective moment between those characters. So that'd be amazing. I don't know how they'd work it out though. I just don't think it'd work.
No, well, I mean, as I said, it remains to be seen, John. It's a rumour at this stage anyway in regards to Anakin Skywalker's return, but I think it would make sense for the character to return in the final film based on the Skywalkers anyway. But just staying on that theme, John, this is one that came in from Screen Rant. Now I did have a little laugh at this because just based on the headline, Darth Vader built his castle to resurrect Padmé, and I thought at first that's the creepiest thing I've ever heard. He's his own Frankenstein monster and he's wanting to resurrect his dead wife. I've read the article since. This is I think there's some parts of it in his own comic from what we see from those screenshots, John, in regards to reviving Padmé. I kind of tried to work out the logistics of the whole, how long it take to build the castle and how long it takes for her body to decompose. It's a bit sick, but listen, I didn't write this headline anyway. It was Screen Rant. And the other thing I did read into it was we don't really think of Vader and his state of mind in those early days after Revenge of the Sith, where we are left with him standing at the bridge with the Emperor, Padmé's funeral scene. We don't really get to see his state of mind, so I can understand this longing to be with his the love of his life, and I was laughing because I certainly wouldn't pick the place where his demise was. I thought if you're going to build something, it would be on Naboo or something like that, in her memory and her honour. But for some strange and perverted reason, he picked Mustafar. It's a horrible location, especially with someone wearing a suit like that. It must be very uncomfortable and very warm all the time. But I digress.
Maybe he's got air conditioning now, Steve.
Yeah, he could have, yeah. But it was just this article that came up, and just looking at those screenshots of the actual comic strip, John, it does kind of make sense of what they're trying to achieve here, and unlocking the power of the dark side as well. I think if you look further down the article, you'll see this. I think it's the key to unlock death. It's a very interesting concept. What's your views on it, John?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear, Stephen. You look at the headline, it's like, this is ridiculous what's going on here, but when you do delve into the comic strips, it's clear what they're doing with it. It's really just focusing on the mindset of Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker, who's within the suit. And there's also a big chunk of him still within the suit, still attached to his previous life. So I think it's clear they're focusing in on that small bit of conflict within him that's still there. I'm sure the Emperor knew exactly what he was doing when he sent him off to Mustafar to build a fortress there, knowing that that was a place where he essentially gave up his old life and became Darth Vader. And just anger and all the torment, the suffering that was still there to remind him every time he stepped foot on the planet. I'm sure that was deliberate. He was using that in a way to turn him completely onto Vader, just cast out the Anakin that was remaining in him. I do recall when I read the Lords of the Sith book, though, there was still a large part of conflict in him. He was having thoughts about killing the Emperor and all the rest of it, but the Emperor could sense it clearly and he slapped him down a couple of times. But you look at some of the comic strips and photos from it, Stephen, and it's, again, it hints at that. You've got this figure saying that your beloved waits for you there, Vader beyond the door, my fortress will tune the energies of the locusts. It's your first step towards using the power of the dark side to pierce the veil of time between life and death. So it's not really like resurrecting, it's more like him using this fortress to harness these dark powers and maybe pierce the veil of time and have a moment with her. He says there, you will see her again, and he stops. So it's clear this is more about just showing the inner conflict of the character, even at this point. There was still a part of Anakin within him, which also transcended this into the original trilogy, obviously with Luke redeeming him. So I think it was more about that, really, just using the idea of him building this fortress to see Padmé again. It's just a story point to show the inner conflict and just the good that was still in him, even at this point, even just after the events of him being badly injured and basically burnt to a crisp. So it was fair. I like the way they were doing it. The story, the headline's terrible, but the actual meat and bones of the story within in the comics very cool, and the graphics are incredible as well. But I digress, I ain't got much more to add than that, Stephen. No. And that brings us to the end of this week's Force Friday show, where we discuss all things Star Wars. We'd just like to thank you for listening to us once again, and we'll be back next Tuesday with Box Office Chat.
Remember, guys, if you enjoyed that episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access all the latest written reviews and the occasional article, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.